or to make some calculations or business logic and get some required output from the data. Data is information and type is what type of information that data is. Okay, let me explain you. Consider a student. For a student, what are the data we store, and for an employee, what all details we store. Consider a student and or an employee. For a student in a college or in a school, what are details we store? We store roll number. This can be like 1, 2 or anything. Likewise, and name of the student, like John or anything. And next is classroom. Like if he is in a school, he will be like 5th standard, 10th, or if he is in a college, it will be like 1st year, 2nd year. Okay, and section, then he will be like A section, B, or anything. Likewise, and for a school or a student, he should pay some fees to the school, so we need to store about fees. Okay, and if he's an employee, if you are taking an employee as an example, then for employee ID we have to store, or we have to get it, and name of the employee and department of the employee, in which department he is working, and salary of the employee. When you are working, you need to get the salary, right? So salary of them. These are the basic information that we have to collect if we are working with an employee data. And if you are working with the student data, you can consider these data are required, minimum data. Okay, now you can see if you want to consider some other example, like any product, then product ID will be the unique ID for a product, and product name, and what is the quantity of the product, and what is the price of the product. Same way, you can consider any example and you can start taking its data, then you will know what are the datas, or what are different types of data you require. Okay, now let's come to our example, that is student. For a student, to store roll number, we use numbers. Okay, these are regular numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, or like that. It doesn't have any floating points like 1.1, 1.2. It is not there. So this type of data we call them as int. Okay, and now names have multiple characters, right? And it can have number or special characters like Ram or John D'Souza, like that. Or these are called strings. For this type of data we use string. Okay, and this class, it is like 10th, 1st year, 2nd year, something like that. So for this also we can take it as string. And now sections like A, B, it's a single number. For this you can consider character. And fees won't be like 10,000 per month. It will be something like some GST and all they will add, and it will be something like 50 or some 9,000, like 50 if it is any college fees, like 50,000, like something. It will be like this type of numbers. These are not integers, these are, see, you can see the dot 50, like they have floating numbers. For these type of data we have two types of variables. You can use float float or double. Okay, when to use float and when to use double we will see later. First we will just, for floating type of values we use, if it is a number and it is having floating points, then we have to consider float or a double as a data type. And if it is a single character, anything, it can be a, b, special character or anything, and or anything, gh, anything. For single characters we have to go for character as a data type. And if it is like multiple characters are there in that, then you have to go for string as a data type. And if it is an integer number and doesn't have any floating points, then you have to go for integer. Int is a basic one. We have some more for these things like long, like a float and double we have. Same way we have for integer, we have int and long. We will see when to use. Basically we will use int. In rare cases we will use long. These are data types. These are called primitive data types. Okay, for an employee, let's see. For an employee, for employee ID it will be a number, so it will be an int, and name of the employee will be a sequence of characters, so it will be a string. And for department it will be also a sequence, like sales department or development department, design department, or accounts, so it will be a string. For salary, after TDS and all, whatever you get, it will be a floating point, so it will be like float or double. Likewise, if you want to consider some other as an example, or you want to try, just try note down like product and ID for it, what of type of IDs we give for products and their names, quantity, like that. You can try and check with this. Now let's see this. In this information we have, for roll numbers we have numbers, and for fees we have numbers. That can be a floating value or non-floating or whole number, but we can distinguish. There are some information which is not purely a number. It can contain some numbers, but it is not. It contains some characters or some variables or some special characters or something like that. By this we can categorize, or we can have different types of data. That is, if the data type, that data that has only numbers, floating or non-floating, and which contain characters. By this we can have two types of data types, that is numeric and non-numeric. Numeric means only numbers, which will have only numbers, a whole or floating, that's fine. And non-numeric will contain everything like this: characters, strings, name, first year, second year, anything. This is called non-numeric data type. In numeric data type we can categorize, like if it is whole number, then we can call it as int or long. If it is a floating point, it has a floating point values, then we call them as float or double. Okay, by this we have two types of data types. One is numeric and non-numeric. In numeric we have int, long, and in decimal points we have float or double. In non-numeric we have character, char, and string. Data types we can have numeric and non-numeric. In numeric we have whole numbers and floating point. In numerics we have whole number or integral, and floating point values. In integral, we will have int, long, short, and in floating point, we have double, float as a data type. And in non-numeric, we have characters and one more data type I've missed, that is Boolean. Boolean will have only two values, true or false. Only these two values for this Boolean. This data type can be like yes or no, only yes or no. It cannot be like intermediate. In that case, we will use this yes or no. Like consider an attendance of a student. If he is present, then it is true. If he is an absent, then it will be false. And if same way, if the employee is present, then it will be true. And employee is absent for that day, then it will be false. Only two conditions, 0 or 1. You can consider true as 1 and false as 0. We got int, long, string, character, float, double, and Boolean values, that is true or false. Let us see how to create these variables in our code. Considering our student as an example, let's create student details. First is the roll number. For roll number, we told it is an int, it will be an int value. So we create int and name of the variable like roll number. Okay, this is the syntax that we use to declare an int variable. Int is a keyword and roll number is a variable name. The literals or the data that we use to store, we call them as variables, and name of the variable, as a convenience, we use first small case, after that this is called camel casing. First word with small letter and next words, what if you want have multiple words, then no space, but start that word with caps word. It's called camel casing, and this is the value that we assign for that. For student name, we have taken as a string, so string as name we can give or for camel casing example, we can consider as student name. This is how we give the variable names, like first word which starts with small letter, all small, after that next word first letter as caps. So student name, student as small letter, for name n is caps. Remove this, it let be there. After student name, we have class. String class. Class is a keyword. Class is a keyword that we use to declare the block of code to be a class. So class is not allowed. Let's add student class. Class is a keyword, so small letter C. Class is keyword, so it is not allowed to take variable name. There are some restrictions on how to write variable name. First restriction is it should not be a keyword that is used in the Java. So class is also a keyword. There are so many keywords like public, class, void, static, and int, string, Boolean. There are so many words. So those we should not use for the giving the variable name or method name. And whenever you are writing any name, that should not be start like, consider this string, that should not start with numbers. This is not allowed. And it should start with underscore and some name, and then you can add some numbers. This should not start with number. Only allowed special characters are underscore and $sign. Only these two special characters are allowed to start with, and remaining are not allowed. And whenever you're giving any name, it should start with alphabet. It can be a caps or it can be a small letter. Let me give this example. It is allowed. Only thing is, as of developer convenience, we start each and every method name or variable name with small letter, and if it has words, separate words, then we start each word with caps. That is called camel casing. And whenever we give class name or whenever we create .java file, we start with caps. Like now I have given demo with caps. These are not compulsory, but these are like convenience, developer convenience, we use them. Let me remove this. Next we have section, that is the difference between char and string is that data type will be char, and when you are giving a string value, it should be double quote, and whenever you are giving a character, it should be a single quote. You can see this difference. Single character with a single quote. Then next we have fees. For fees, we told we will be using float. So like 6 should be here. Okay. Whenever you are giving float value, it should end with small f or caps F. So like whenever you are giving float value, it should end with small f or caps F, so that the JVM will know that this value that we are giving for this float value is a floating point float data type. And to use Boolean, we will consider as okay, does he pass? We say let him pass true if he is passed. Now see, when we create an int variable, it should, the data type is like type of the variable is int, name of the variable, and is equal to this assignment operator. equal to, and the value is 101. For string student name, when we are creating a character, it should be small letter char, section, single quotes value. Whenever you are giving float, it should end with small f or caps F. That indicates this floating point value is a float. And for Boolean, Boolean is a keyword, and passed is a variable name that we use for to indicate this, and we are given true. Let's print these values. S out control space. Let's print roll number of the student. Colon plus roll number. Same way we will use. We'll try to print all the variables. Name, class, section, and past of it. First is name of the student, name, then next is class, we'll add section in front of that itself. Roll number of the student, name of the student, and class and section in front of it. This is how we concatenate two. Here there are 4 values, that is, first is class, student name, and some space between them, and then section. Just run this, right click on run as Java application. You can see roll number 101, RAM 10th A, which class? 10th A, and is student passed? Yes, true. Okay, let's create one more student data with name John. Let me copy this. This is student 1. Roll number of the student 2, student name 2, class student. This is student, second student's data. So okay, you can see this. I want to give some information about this data, so I'm writing student 2 and given 2 forward slashes. This is called comment. This line of code, the comments won't be executed or won't be compiled. The compiler will not execute these lines, it will skip. Whenever you see these lines, it will skip. See, these are single line comments. Whenever you want to give any information, like I'm trying to show that this data, whatever I'm writing, or lines of code or instruction, it belongs to a student 2. So I'm writing as student whatever information that I want to, that I will write, and before that, in front of it, I will give 2 forward slashes. This is called line comment. You can give a block comment like this is block comment. Okay, now you can just select these two lines, go to source. In that you have add block comment. Okay, you can see control shift forward slash if it is a shortcut to create block comment, or just select that, go to source and add to block comment, click. So, forward slash star ends with star or asterisk and forward slash. This is called block comment, and this is forward slash. This is single line comment. You can just control shift forward slash to remove this, control shift backward slash. This will remove the comment. Okay, this is called block comment and this is called single line comment. And student class 2 is the class of the student 2, section of the student 2, fees of student 2, pass. Same way I will just copy it, rename. He is a 9th standard student and his roll number is 202. He belongs to C section. And by this time I will give caps F, C passed, yes true. Like, will not make him fail. Let's add some yes out, control space, just right click on. You can run one more way, just go to in top left hand side you have a run button, run demo, just click on that. You can run the application. Let's drag this, so you can see student 1 info, roll number, name, class is equal to yes true, and this student 2 information. Okay, got this. Now you can see, just to note two students basic information, we are writing for each student we are writing 6 lines of code. This leave this print statement. This just we want to know what values we stored in these variables we have seen. Apart from them, just see these variables. Every time we have to create and we have to check how many students. Consider if we have 5 students, we will create roll number 1, roll number 2, 3, like that. And after once you are done with coding, then if you want to add few more students, then you have to create again variables. For this reason, we take all these variables and club or group into one class or one object, so that we call all these together as student 2 or student 1.